Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Galactic. Oh, what was that? Well, welcome to this episode of Galactic Nerd Outpost. I am your host, Joey McGee, aka Gojin the Makai Phantom, and joining me for the first time in a while is Zimzilla 99.
Shalom, shalom, everyone, my fellow Gagans.
Trev Thom's Cult Classic Corner.
Howdy, everybody.
Meatbag.
Are you ready?
And, of course, Kaiju Cody.
That monster will never forgive us because we overcharged his room service fee at the Monster Convention.
And what we're doing today, as what's clear in the thumbnail, we're going to be looking at two things. Godzilla Minus One and some details for the trailer, for the details that were revealed for the new Monsterverse series. And either way, like, I gotta say, is us Kaiju and Toku fans have been eating fucking well lately. Like, in general. Like, for example, 2022, we got Shin Ultraman. 2023, we got Ultraman Blazer. We got Kamen Rider Black Sun. The first anime sequel to Kamen Rider Double, Shin Kamen Rider. Godzilla Minus One. The Monarch series. Godzilla X Kong. There's so much shit we are getting. And then you have that movie with Megumi Odaka coming out called, what's the word I'm looking for? Hoshi 35.
And don't forget, in 2 days, we got Gamma Rebirth coming out on Netflix. Woo!
Exactly, like...
And then I know in October we have the Kong video game that's coming out as well.
Exactly.
Speaking of Kong, we also had that anime a few months ago. Anybody remember that? No? Just me? Okay.
But yeah, there's just so much here. And before we get into what we're when we look at the trailer, is there anything you guys specifically want to say before we dive into the Minus One trailer?
Who's cat meowing in the background?
That's Oreo.
Ah.
I think it's because Joey is stroking his pussy.
Oh, fuck off.
Got him!
Tokupunk Productions said Kong anime was mid.
Yeah,
I liked
the
it.
entire thing was mid.
I thought it was good, but there was definitely a lot of problems with it. Honestly, I don't know if I consider that the weakest MonsterVerse thing or Godzilla 2014, because both I would say
the anime. The anime was definitely weaker.
I still haven't seen it, and the writer talking about it on Twitter, he basically just did his own thing. Nobody at Netflix told him, hey, this is the continuity that you have to follow. So that's basically just his take on Kong.
Yeah, I can see that. Though
Yeah,
there was some clear reference drew to Godzilla.
What's interesting, though, is that if you look at some of the stuff that they reveal, it probably is going to create issues down the line. But hey, the Monsterverse hasn't cared too much about continuity for a while now, so...
I'll say right now, the Monsterverse with continuity hasn't been very good with it at all. Because, like, for example, like, when they built up Serizawa, they did a really good job with him in 2014. And when they finished up his arc in King of the Monsters. King of the Monsters with characters like Ilani Chen... I think they did a really good job with introducing her. Like, yeah, first of all, yeah, I know I'm biased. She's a hot Asian chick. She's played by Zhang Zi.
Enough horny jail with you.
Yeah. But even in terms of her character, I like the mystery they gave her by throwing in subtle connections with Mothra that were clearly meant to be dived down to in later sequels, but Godzilla vs. Kong forgot her existence. I feel like they were planning to do more with Jonah Allen, too, by keeping him somewhat mysterious in King of the Monsters, but they did nothing with him in Godzilla vs. Kong. And the characters that they do continue, like Emma Russell, Madison Russell, and Jack Russell and all that stuff, they're mid characters. They're just okay. And the ones that do have potential, like I said, Jonah Allen and Shin, the Mothra twins, they get forgotten about, and it's like that's a shame.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot that they could have done, but Adam Wingard and the people running Legendary and Warner Brothers saw the box office numbers for King of the Monsters, and they're just like, let's just throw all this over here and then act like it never existed and just start anew. It's like,
yeah.
But my continuity. Fuck your continuity.
Russell family is so irrelevant that Joey, you didn't even say the main character from King of the Monsters' name right. It was Mark, not Jack.
Yeah, well, you're right. That just goes to show the quality of the characters.
But yeah, no, honestly, a lot of the Monsterverse stuff, I've been consuming it out of obligation rather than direct interest. However, the minus one stuff, it's giving me everything I wanted. Depressing
Exactly.
Godzilla, really good action, an awesome design that like I'm really happy to see.
He
There's
looks
some
like
really
he
good
stubbed his
visuals.
toe in his thumbnail right there.
Yeah, he's like it looks like he got completely fucked up too. Like it's super interesting to that last scene there in the trailer.
I will say this, like, I'm loving both flavors we're getting of Godzilla lately. Like, in Japan, it kind of reflects what both cultures want out of Godzilla, because Japan, they like the more character-driven, serious nature of Godzilla movies, like the original Shin, Invasion of the Astro Monster, or even the Godzilla films with more action than something like Shin, but still more serious than King of the Monsters and such. And I'm loving the more 70s Showa era-esque of the Monsterverse, but just because I'm loving the direction of the Monsterverse, I do have a lot of problems with it, and that mostly comes down to, one, forgetting continuity, two, the characters that they do bring back are just kind of mid. Like I said, I'm hyped for GBK, the New Empire and such, but I'm not. But I do have my criticisms. Still, both flavors I am really digging, and the fact that we're getting these two flavors at once, I can't help but love.
I'll be the guy who says I've honestly enjoyed the MonsterVerse stuff more than anything Japan's done recently. I respect Shin Godzilla, but I've already made it abundantly clear I don't care much for the Polygon trilogy. Singular Point is probably better than I give it credit for, but I just can't get into it like that. But then I see Minus One coming along, and it's like, I think it's like the perfect mix of respecting Godzilla's roots for where he came from, while also putting on grand spectacle like I like from a visual standpoint. It's got good effects. It seems like Godzilla's going to be far more involved and more active in the movie than he has been in more recent Japanese Godzilla entries. And by that, I mean he's not just some fucking statue that just stands there doing nothing, absolutely nothing, a majority of the movie. Nah, this guy, he seems like he's mean, he's vicious, and he's throwing trains around, he's biting up trains, he's destroying battleships, he's crushing them with his claws, or shooting them like he shot that aircraft carrier in Godzilla vs. Kong. Yamazaki loves the Monsterverse, by the way. He makes no bones about it, and you'll see a whole lot of his Monsterverse love show up in this trailer when we go to watch it. So, yeah.
Yeah, and
Get on with it!
I'd say
Yes, get on with it.
Oh, I am so loving this scene.
Well, it is a podcast, and whenever topics are brought up, I try to go into them. But yeah, in terms
You
of
go
that,
into these nuts.
but in terms of that, I'd say that it's more so a preference thing in terms of flavor of what they're offering. Like, you are more into what America is interested in. That's okay. Like, in terms of both flavors, like rather the American flavor and the Japanese flavor, I love both directions equally. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't think one did a better job at executing what it was going for than the other, if that makes sense.
Fair.
Well, one thing I would say is I honestly believe that the Japanese movies are doing better than the American movies, especially with like Minus One, because we're seeing a lot of parallels to the American stuff. Like the teaser before the actual trailer dropped the other day was essentially Godzilla 2014's opening, but better. We're seeing an aircraft destruction scene, but honestly having more impact than the one in GVK. And I think despite the like airport scene from 2014 really capturing the zeitgeist and like every Godzilla fan just kind of looking on with bated breath and being like, oh wow, like we made it, like this is peak. Godzilla's here. This ending shot from the trailer I think is still even better than how it was in that in 2014. So I think overall, like, I don't know, maybe I'm just biased for minus one. Like, it's given me everything I've wanted, and I couldn't be more happy. And
I
think
agree with you
that,
100%. Like, honestly, I think 2014 is the weakest Godzilla film since 98.
I wouldn't go that far, but
I was about to say, how you gonna say that when City on the Edge of Battle exists?
I guess if we're not including the anime films, then
the anime films are better. I'll die on that.
Yeah, nah.
Well, here's the
Oh,
thing.
wait,
Like,
you are serious? Okay, let me laugh even harder.
Well, here's the thing. In 2014's case, my issue is it was developing a character being, well, what's his name? Jack Brody, I believe his name is. Oh God.
Ford Brody.
Ford Brody. Yeah. See, again with the Monsterverse character names.
Not every white guy's named Jack, Joey.
I don't know. But
I mean, at least he's not saying John.
Yeah, but in terms of in terms of him, he was a great kid. They were doing a good job at developing him. He had a motive. Bryan Cranston did an incredible job with the performance. He brought a lot of emotion into it that made you really feel like this guy was out for revenge on Godzilla. Well, not on Godzilla, but on trying to find the truth of what happened to his wife. And then when it was just starting to progress him, they killed him off. Bait and switch, go to his son. I used to defend the son's performance, but now that I realize that he didn't care about making the movie, I don't think that was an acting method. I think he was just bored.
Phoning it in?
Yeah, and the movie doesn't know how the suspense works either. Like, showing bits of Godzilla is fine and all, but...
Oh, you were talking about Joe Brody. I thought you were talking about Ford originally. Yeah.
Yeah, fuck Ford.
You still even got it wrong.
But when it comes to and then it did, and what's worse, they didn't know how suspense works. Like, they would bring in, like, showing off bits of Godzilla is fine, but once you show what Godzilla looks like and then just start cutting away, that's no longer suspense. We already know what the big G looks like. It's just cock teasing. The anime trilogy, while there is flaws in them, they do all work together to develop Mamoru Miyano's character Haruo, and I know I got that right. Yuko Tani, we see her from the first movie and the second movie, getting influenced by Haruo to the point of leading to her death, which, again, her death leads Haruo to understanding, hey, I was reckless, and I have damaged other people's mentality with my own mistakes. And the entire trilogy does a good job with that. There's a lot more wrong I can mention with 2014, to be honest. But anyway, let's get into what we're into now. Okay, 1 minute. Fuck.
Bug.
Okay.
Fuck. Oh God, I'm gonna.
We should also stop sequentially as well, just so we don't get
What,
the
Nate?
strike. We should definitely stop sequentially, like every 10 seconds or so, just so you don't get the copyright strike of doom.
Oh yeah, of course. Like, I know how Toho is. Like, I used to think that they were more kind than Toei, but now that I learned how to deal with Toei's bullshit, I think Toho might be on par with them. Even though Toei is famous for being worse, with my own experience, I think Toei and Toho might be on equal playing fields.
Mm-hmm.
Back.
What's up right here?
Okay, something I want to say, like this shot right here.
Looks like Shin Godzilla.
Well, I was thinking that too, but in this shot here, the way he's walking, this really tells me they're going back to that horror-esque, darker tone of the original film, because you have her clear fear, the look on her face, the stuttering delivery in her voice, and we got the reflection of Godzilla just walking slow up to her. That's suspense. That is suspense.
It's a very well framed scene. It's clearly classic horror in the best of ways, very suspenseful, and I'm just like, Oh yeah, I love that shit.
Yeah, it puts a chill down my spine. Like, who's the fucker who directed 2014 again? I want to tell him to take notes.
Gareth Edwards.
Yeah,
Gareth Edwards, yeah. Take notes, motherfucker. This is suspense, not cock blocking battles.
Also, what's it called? When you're looking at this Godzilla from this angle, it really, really has a Heisei vibe going for it.
Yeah, like
Well-
someone compared it to the Kuma suit in Godzilla vs. Biollante, and it's
Yeah.
from the proportions, I can see it.
89 and 91. It definitely very much looks similar to those two suits.
looks like
Exactly.
the part when we first see Shin Godzilla in his final form when he's first powered to walk on land.
Something else that's worth noting is the size of Godzilla in this, because they clearly shrunk him back down, but he's still overall big and imposing to the human population, while still being small enough to make it sort of personal. Like, you'd be able to pick someone out in the crowd if you really
Well-
wanted to. That's something
Mhm.
that a lot of people have criticized later Godzilla movies for, making Godzilla so damn big that, like, it sort of loses that. There's a little bit of a disconnect between what's going on with Godzilla and what's going on with the human characters, because, well, how is something that big supposed to pick someone out in the crowd? Now, to be fair, King of the Monsters sort of got around this a little bit with Godzilla singling out Mark Russell twice in the movie, but overall, I see what people are getting at. It's not a big thing for me personally, but I do understand the critique.
Well, Cody, something I want to tell you. What would you know about something being so big you can't pick something out of the crowd? Yours is tiny. Baby
This
dick.
is like supposed to take place right back at the original, right?
Yes.
Actually, even later than that, like 2 years after the war ended, 1947, even.
Okay, so it's still about the same time, a couple years ahead, but
Well, actually, it's about 10 years earlier almost. So they basically bump it up to like right after the war. See, with the original, they had like almost a decade in between. So, you know, things had kind of cooled off, so to speak, but it was still pretty fresh. This is like right after, though. So it's as fresh as it can get.
Well, something
Yeah.
I want to say is, like, for example, on them shrinking Godzilla down, in Shin Godzilla's case, the reason why Shin Godzilla was so massive in that movie, because the whole point of that film was to reimagine the 54 movie in modern day. Everything about that film is made with the mindset, what if Godzilla came out now? And by a result, as I said in that article I wrote for Sakura Central, they made him bigger. They made
Something
Godzilla,
you can't do.
oh, fuck off. They made Godzilla bigger. He evolves. He shoots a beam from more than his mouth. He's massive. He can keep evolving to represent how Japan's only gonna get bigger as time goes. And, of course, instead of following people struggling with the economy, it follows politicians who are struggling to deal with the issue. It's a perfect example of what if. This, I'm still thinking as a remake. There's many shots in this trailer, which we'll get to after the trailer is over, that replicate shots from the original movie. It takes place around the war. It's not updating the message like Shin Godzilla did, so it's sticking with that old message due to it taking place around a similar time. And when I read the archetypes of these characters, while they're named differently, their motives are similar to Ogata and Emiko. And I'll get to one who reminds me of Yamane as we go on in the trailer.
I think you're good to keep going.
Okay.
Play that funky music, white boy.
Godzilla.
oh god,
Pause right here.
Yeah.
It's definitely appreciated that, like, when Godzilla steps down too, you see people ragdoll like it's Halo 3 in the air. And the shot right here where you're actually seeing a shot from these people's perspective as they fall to the ground from this building, it's nice to actually see like actual people be in the destruction zone and like actually have to deal with this.
Yeah, I can agree with
Yeah.
Iris.
People died by Godzilla being Godzilla. Holy
Something
shit.
else I gotta say that I appreciate is how they handled the whole tail swing. Because another YouTuber whose name I won't mentioned how slow it looked like the tail was going through the building, and I'm just like, nah, it only looks that slow because, well, he's just that big. I don't know what it is. When something's really big and a good distance away, it looks like it's either moving really slowly or not moving at all, even though you know straight up it's coming at you. Like an avalanche, that's sort of what they're doing here with Godzilla's tail swinging through that building, about ready to sweep all those people to their deaths. So I like that little attention to detail there. I think it's very appreciated.
Yeah, so about this shot in particular, it's actually a good thing we paused here. D-Man 1954, he was doing shot-by-shot comparisons with the original, and he singled this shot out in particular and compared it to the scene where Tokyo Tower falls over and we see the reporters. They're like almost their perspective, but not really them falling to the ground, that kind of shot. That's what he was comparing with this particular shot.
Yeah, you see a few different shots that are sort of parallels to shots from the original 54 movie in here.
Yeah,
And
that's why I think this is a remake rather than a reboot or reimagining, because there's so much we already know that calls back to the original. And even when you shared the things on those characters, Trevor, and the Discord server, their names are really the only things different, because those little archetypes that they mentioned are very similar to what we got with the main cast of the original. Of course, that's only a small portion of what we know about them, but lead guy is a soldier, fucking Ogata. Lead girl is a woman who's basically trying to stay strong and struggling through the economy of of what Japan's currently dealing with, of the nuclear bomb and war. Fucking Emiko.
Well, I'd say like in that case, it's more like it's similar to Emiko because she's a female character. Because Emiko really didn't have to struggle with that as much because her role is mostly her love triangle with Ogata and Sarazawa, and then the relationship Ogata and Yamane have with each other, and how her being in the story allows for these connections to work, but also because she's what ends up persuading Sarazawa to use the Oxygen Destroyer. So I think so far out of the characters that we've mentioned, she's probably the one that's most different.
Yeah,
I can agree with that.
Well, the point
Yeah,
is,
Joe, real quick. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah, I wasn't sharing that to say that you were wrong necessarily, because, you know, if we think about other remakes that hit similar beats but have different character names, it's like the original King Kong and the 76 version. You know, we have the blonde character, we have the love interest, we have the entrepreneur. They have different names in those movies, but it's basically, you know, hitting similar beats. But in terms of like the scale and everything for this movie, I think it definitely could be compared to, and also with the period piece angle, it could still be compared to Peter Jackson's King Kong.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think this could hit similar beats to Peter Jackson's King Kong of retelling the story of the original movie, and it's probably going to be 2 hours. Like, that's what I'm expecting. And like, into like 2 hours to expand upon the story. Some differences here and there, but overall, it'll be a modernized version of the original. And not modernized in the sense Shin Godzilla was, of asking, what if Godzilla was made now? But modern in the sense they got modern technology, modern actors, and some new twist on the concept here and there.
You also provided a good example in Discord with the Heisei Godzilla versus Mothra, because that's a remake of Mothra versus Godzilla, but there's also a lot of the original Mothra in that movie.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's in the characters' names are different, but you have this, but still their personalities are similar. Like, hell, you got the same dude, the evil mustache dude of the corporate. He's basically the same character from Mothra versus Godzilla.
And the thing that really defines remakes is whenever you're actually recreating shots, like we were bringing up.
Yeah.
Usually
Yeah.
reboots and all the other terms, those movies don't necessarily recreate scenes from an original. But when you're doing a remake, well, I mean, you basically are recreating those moments.
Yeah, like, I'm not sure how many of you guys read my article on Sakura Central about the Shin series. Like, have any of you read that?
TLDR.
What, Nate?
I haven't
I'm
gotten
going
to
to
it.
at some point.
I'm just kidding. I'll read it at some point.
Okay, well, point I was making in a lot of those, well, Shin Godzilla in that article is a straight-up reimagining, mainly because the concept of the original 54 film, everything about it goes back to old Japan, and it's struggling with the nukes. So, in order to bring that to modern day, they basically had to give everything the reimagining treatment. However, with Evangelion, Ultraman, and Kamen Rider, like stuff like the Shocker being Nazis in Kamen Rider, or things like in Evangelion going for depression in the original show, while in the rebuild movies going for optimism to represent Anno's state of mind. Like for example, in Shin Kamen Rider's case, like in the original, I'm watching the original writers. Shocker clearly represent Nazis. They're simple as Nazis. They do Nazi shit. But in the reimagining, since Nazis aren't really as relevant as they were in the 70s, Shin reimagined them to be something more relevant now to like the Happy Science world. Or in Evangelion's case, in the 90s, when Anno made Neon Genesis Evangelion, he was depressed, so a lot of elements that went into making Evangelion replicated that. But the rebuild films, like especially the final one, they twisted that concept on its head to going from the bitter end of Eva to a optimistic beginning, and that's where the reimagining comes in on those. But then you got shots that are straight up redone. Like, for example, the beginning of Shin Kamen Rider is very similar to the first episode of the original Kamen Rider series. Or in Shin Ultraman, when he's shown up and fought Naranga, there was a lot of similar beats hit in. When Ultraman got killed by Zeton, it hit a similar beat to the original Ultraman show. But again, while reimagining came in, was Zeton being this big thing in space. So when it comes to the Shin movies, besides Shin Godzilla, they're kind of this combination of remake and reimagining, where it's hard to describe them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this, I'd say, is a straight-up remake. But the reason, like I said, Shin Godzilla was the most reimagined of those, because, like I said, if you're going to reimagine anything in Godzilla, that movie is so old school, you got to do the entire thing, because it basically runs on its themes of nuclear war.
Well, and to be honest, for the 70th anniversary, I think it's rather appropriate to actually straight up remake the original movie.
Yeah, I agree. Well, in terms of the other Shin movies, like I forgot to mention this, but I want to mention this now. The reason why Shin Kamen Rider, Shin Ultraman, and Shin Eva hit some similar beats to the originals is mainly because, unlike Godzilla, if you're going to tackle the originals, there's some... You can, like, for example, you can detach Kamen Rider from the Nazi aspect. You can retell the Rider story and change the villains from being Nazis. You can touch similar beats of the original Evangelion and make it about confidence.
Pause right here. Yeah, that works. I know at one point a few of me and a few other people were probably thinking that might have been like a nuke going off, but considering what we see later on in the trailer, more than likely that's like Godzilla using his atomic breath.
Yeah, well, to be fair, that's still a nuke.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, it's still a nuke, but I mean like America using another nuke on Godzilla versus the atomic breath going off.
That is true.
We might still get them using a nuke on Godzilla later if the final shot of the trailer is anything to go by.
Yeah.
But I'm inclined to agree with you, Zim, that the atomic breath, that was Godzilla using his atomic breath in that particular scene. Which, speaking of that scene, I don't know why, but there was two people who looked like a happy couple. One of them was a soldier, the other was a Japanese woman. He had his arm around the woman, and they looked so nonchalant as they were looking up at Godzilla and whatever that explosion was. It looked like they were just like looking up at a shooting star or something. I'm just like, why are you all just standing there like you're watching the shooting stars or whatnot? You're all about to die. Oh, look at that light, honey.
I think it's like one of those things where they're so close to that blast, and considering what like people do know about the bombs at this point, they probably realize that like there's no hope anyway. So like it's just sort of like those embrace your loved ones kind of final moment sort of things.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. That makes a lot of sense. Someone also made the suggestion that maybe like it could be a nightmare scene, like someone's having a nightmare, one of the characters. And but I don't particularly agree now because with that shot of the explosion going off, it recontextualizes a scene we saw in the original teaser a month ago, where there's a bunch of people standing outside a wreckage, a heap with signs and protests and everything. Like we now know that big, all that debris, all that destruction was most likely caused by whatever that explosion was.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
First of all, say, Cody, I knew it wasn't a nightmare because your face wasn't in it.
No, you.
You were too late on the no you. He bitch made you there.
Yeah. Toku Production said shit Ava bad because it's way too happy and corny and made characters who Anno forgot about shallow. Yeah, people who bitch about the more optimistic direction of the Evangelion rebuild movies are fucking stupid. Like, it's like, what, you want the same movies? It's like, literally, when you watch Evangelion from Neon Genesis up to the rebuild films, you're watching a fictionalized storytelling medium of Anno's mental health journey, from depression to giving up to optimism and starting anew.
Hey, if I may say, Toku Punk brought up something that he said I should address, and he's absolutely right. Hoob in the Discord server brought up sort of what not sort of. He brought up what I was talking about before. I honestly forgot where I heard that before, and then I see Toku Punk saying, bruh, show that Hoob posted about that LMFAO, and I'm just like, oh shit, that was him, wasn't it? And for the record, I just want to say, Joey actually invited Hoob/Nick to be on this podcast with us, but from what I understand, he didn't give an answer, so that's why he's not here to say it himself.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, like, Cody, when Cody asks someone for sex, they don't give an answer, he just fucks them. I don't know why this is the exception.
Hey, Joey, practice falling down. I'll be there in a second.
I really get vibes of Those Who Will Know from Shin Godzilla.
Yeah, it does have a very similar vibe to that. Oh, stop right here. Like that shot right there of Godzilla under the water too. That's like another really Monsterverse-y kind of like shot right there. But it just feels like it was done so much better than that shot right there.
Well, first I want to say, in terms of the shot, I think there's two things going on in one here. I think on one hand, it's a reference to the Monsterverse, but you know what I think the context of that scene is? I think that's
that your mom is having sex with Godzilla?
No, like, you know how in the original film, Godzilla destroyed a fucking boat. I think this is gonna be kind of like a remake of that scene, but framed similar to that shot in GVK, to reference that while also drawing back to the original, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I guess so. I'll gotta point out how good the computer-generated effects are on this, because this is something I feel is always worth critiquing, is the fact that in Shin Godzilla did next to nothing, and anytime he did actually move, it looked really awkward, like that quick walk he did after the atomic breath scene in Tokyo, as epic as that shot was. Whereas in this, we get to see Godzilla doing all types of stuff it almost seems like he couldn't do in Shin Godzilla before. Just the evolution of computer-generated effects in Japanese cinema from then to now, it's very impressive, especially when you consider impressive when you consider the fact that Yamazaki is not only the director of the movie, he's also supervising and directing the special effects himself through his own special effects company. It's really cool.
Well, I want to say in terms of Shin Godzilla's special effects, I think for the most part, like the special effects were supposed to kind of replicate a suit, and in many ways they did, because let's be honest, when we saw the teaser to Shin Godzilla, the trailer to Shin Godzilla when it came out, we all thought that was a rubber suit, and even when it came in,
I thought it was a puppet.
Yeah, but even when it came into theaters, many people are still like, that's gotta be a suit enhanced by CGI because it looks that good. In many ways, it still does. Now, is there a few moments where it peaks out? Like that moment you mentioned after he shot the atomic breath when he did that quick walk that looked awkward. And there was one other moment where it looks slightly awkward, but the vast majority of that film, I think, looks as great as it possibly could. This might have moments like that, I'm not sure, but I don't know if I could criticize Shin Godzilla for that, because at the same time, they're not using a Hollywood budget, so even if they make it look incredible, like top tier most of the time, with Japanese money, there's moments they're going to have to cut corners. That's why when you watch Shin Godzilla and compare it to Shin Ultraman, and Shin Ultraman, Shin Kamen Rider, and things of that nature, you'll notice in Shin Ultraman and Shin Kamen Rider, in comparison to Shin Godzilla, there's more moments in those movies where the CGI sticks out, but it's not because the special effects were a downgrade in Shin Ultraman or Shin Kamen Rider. It's mainly because in those movies, one, Shin Godzilla was 15 million, Shin Ultraman and Shin Kamen Rider were like 8 million. And combined with the fact that those movies have a lot going on. There's a lot of action throughout the 2 hours of those films. Since they're superheroes, there's a lot more explosions and crazy things happening. So it's kind of expected with that budget.
Joey, if I may, I wasn't saying that to strictly criticize Shin Godzilla. I'm just saying the evolution from where computer effects in Japanese kaiju movies started versus where they are now. I was just commenting on how impressive, how far they've come in such a short amount of time, comparatively speaking, because some of these shots in this movie look like on par with Hollywood in my opinion. It's actually very impressive, especially when you can take into account that they're still probably working with a really small budget compared to the hundreds of millions that get thrown at American blockbusters all the time.
I'd say they look on par with the best of Hollywood here, to be honest. And I would say I think the same goes for a lot. I'll also say I think the same goes for Shin Godzilla for the most part, but there is a few moments.
Oh, I can't agree with that.
You mentioned. Well, mainly because in Shin Godzilla, like I said, it looks like a suit most of the time, which is why I give it credit.
You do you, boo boo.
Anything y'all want to say?
That movie, Sunset on 3rd Street. Like when the Godzilla does a cameo, he does the same thing with his tail, like he does in the trailer. It just now popped in my head.
Well, yeah, that segment in Sunset
right.
on 3rd Street was. That segment was clearly a beta for what we'd get here. Toku Punk Production said looks better than
that was like a teenager's life ago, and that still looked pretty good.
Toku Punk Production said looks better than most Hollywood films. I can agree, because even though the budget is smaller, and even though Shin movies, even the moments they have to cut corners, when they are at their best, they look better than most of Hollywood. Okay, here's the thing I want to say. This guy right here, this scene, I think this scene, like, you know that moment at the conference in the original film with Dr. Yamane?
The diet building scene you're talking about?
Yeah, and when he was showing off all these images and shit, I think this guy right here, I think this scene is probably going to be like a remake. Like, the government is not telling the public. That's literally what was going on in the original film. This guy right here is going to be like a combination of Dr. Yamane and Serizawa. Kind of what they were trying to do in Godzilla 98 with fucking Matthew Broderick and failed.
Well, also, the other thing that should be noted is that in 54, the government wasn't directly trying to hide the existence of Godzilla. They left it up to a decision among the cabinet itself, and the cabinet had a split decision on it. Well, in this case, since the Japanese government isn't completely whole, it may be a case where with the US, they may be trying to hide the existence of Godzilla, because a lot of people are pointing to the fact that Godzilla's creation by Americans may be more explicit.
Yeah, but I still think this
Could
here
be.
is kind of like a...
It's similar, but there's enough differences where it's not like a wholesale kind of we are copying the exact same thing.
Well, here's the thing. A good remake honors the original while also doing its own thing. Nobody likes shit like Psycho. That's what I say.
Stop right there. I have to say, definitely, like, that's... I haven't heard a lot of screams in films for the longest time that actually felt, like, genuine. Like, I forget the actor's name behind it, but he definitely yelled his heart out in that scene right there.
He did. That just goes to show that there is a really good cast of characters here, but I already kind of expected that, because the lead actress who plays Noriko is the same actress from Shin Kamen Rider, and
yeah.
like I said, huh?
Well, yeah, no, as I said, I remember that she was also in Shin Kamen Rider, too.
Yeah, it's like that. I know this woman can act, so the fact that this film is starting, has her in it alone, it's like, yeah. And you know what? Maybe you can say that has my expectations too high, but I think this is gonna be in my list alongside Shin Kamen Rider as top movies of 2023. Mark my fucking words.
I agree.
And she would be in 2 movies that are in my top 5 movies of 2023. So it's like, congrats to her.
その怪物は許しちゃ
I
く
am
れ
this
ない
famous
the
line
line.
right here.
He says the line.
He said it!
What's him?
He said it!
ゴジラマイナスワン
Here's my prediction of this shot. I think he's dying here. Look how fucked up his skin looks. I think someone is gonna make something like the Oxygen Destroyer in this movie that would fuck him up, and this is gonna be his final moments of roaring before he's dead. That's what I'm thinking.
I don't particularly agree. If you go back to those leaks a while back, they talk about how one Godzilla, there's actually 2 Godzillas in this movie, and one of them ends up getting mutated by getting an atomic bomb dropped on them. I think that might be what we're seeing here, because you see all that smoke in the background, and it makes you wonder, did they just drop a nuke on this motherfucker? So I personally think that's what's going on here. We're seeing Godzilla go through his mutation.
Actually, you know what it reminds me of? Have y'all ever seen the trailers for the Return of Godzilla?
Yeah.
There's a particular, I can't remember if it was the teaser or the very first trailer. There's a shot at the beginning, and the screen looks all red, and it's a close up of the Cyber Godzilla animatronic, and it's like he's reacting to. I can't remember if it was the volcano or if it was. I think it started with the nuke exploding at the beginning, and it shows him reacting to it. That shot kind of reminds me of this one here. Different coloration and everything, but that's what it reminds me of.
Fair enough.
That's what it could be. Very well.
But like I said, what I think here, like, the other thing might be true. But like I said, with how fucked up his skin is, which it could be the mutated thing of those leaks. If not, though, I think it's either those leaks are correct or this is the final roar.
I think it may be neither. I think it may just be like Godzilla does get hit, he does some damage, and he gets even more pissed off. I would not be surprised if that's what they decide to do.
Yeah.
Could be. That's what I like so much about this trailer is, unlike trailers in America nowadays, where they basically give away the whole fucking movie, they are very minimalistic about this. I mean, sure, they show Godzilla, but, like, they do it in a way where they're not giving away every single thing about the movie. I like that air of mystery they're giving it. Is this Godzilla dying? Is he just pissed off? Is he getting created? We don't know. We'll have to wait until we watch the actual fucking movie. It's awesome.
Well, in terms of, you know what else about in terms of the American trailers? No rap music!
I will say definitely the here we go grew on me, but yeah, I do appreciate that the music in the trailer feels aesthetically consistent instead of it being like really out of place and trying to hype up the general audience.
Ugh.
Toku Punk Production said, "My boy Joey." Hey, feelings mutual, Toku Punk. But yes, like I will say is, I'm hyped for New Empire. I'm hyped for the Monarch series. But out of all upcoming things of Godzilla that I'm hyped for, I gotta tell you, it's this easily. I don't even have to think on that.
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to bring up any channel names, but something I do like. There's some channels who are already trashing this movie that are MonsterVerse stands. And it's like
who?
Like I think what channel is
So much for not mentioning names, huh?
Well,
we mentioned all the names here.
Okay, I'll mention the names. Like, for example, I could be wrong, but I think OmniViewer doesn't like the trailer to this, or ETN.
No, Omni likes it. He went out of his way to like analyze the trailer the way we are now. Not to
I'd be super surprised if Omni disliked the trailer. That'd be very surprising.
I wouldn't. I like OmniViewer, but here's the thing. Like,
also, he's not a big MonsterVerse fan anyway, so like again, I'm surprised.
Well, when it comes to stuff like this, like, I'm hyped for it, but at the same time, it looks like a Reiwa Godzilla movie, and to my knowledge, he hasn't been fond of the Reiwa series. And
well, I know he does like the anime trilogy, but then again, who does?
Yeah, but he also does.
Shin's also.
I who does this in my podcast.
Yeah, who doesn't hate the anime trilogy? Yeah, who doesn't hate the anime trilogy? That's like saying you like vanilla ice cream. Almost everyone does. Even if you don't like vanilla ice cream, you'll still gladly eat it.
I like the trilogy. I like it better than the first MonsterVerse film, to be honest.
Well,
yeah, I was about to say Joey's the resident here for anime trilogy fan.
Well, there's flaws, but overall, there's a lot of offenses I want to make. Well, I'll be honest, Blue Nova has a lot of bad takes, but he also has some good ones. His defense of the trilogy is a W. But when it comes to this, I know Omni doesn't like Shin Godzilla, he doesn't like Singular Point, and he doesn't like the anime trilogy, so I think it's kind of weird to him and Dangerville. Like, I'm glad they like it, but I kind of don't understand it, because like it looks like a Reiwa Godzilla movie. It's giving off the same vibes of being very character focused. It seems to be very dark. It's gonna be political, only not using modern politics, and there's gonna be a lot of dialogue.
Yeah, but Joey, here's the thing though. It also has a bit of spectacle, a little razzle dazzle in its effects that a lot of MonsterVerse stands tend to enjoy. So that could be what's drawing them in. The way they frame Godzilla certain shots, all the lighting, and how they have Godzilla behaving, that's probably what's drawing them in so much, is what Godzilla himself, Godzilla the character, is doing in these trailers.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, I have seen people talk about how political Shin Godzilla is. It's like, technically, Shin Godzilla is not much more political than the original. Shin Godzilla is literally a modernization of the original. So it's tackling a modern subject. Just what made the original political was going a sense what were most affected in Japan were the civilians that were struggling to survive in the economy. And the situation Shin Godzilla was modernizing it with, it was politicians. So it's like, it's not really that much more political when you think of it in that perspective, because the whole point of Shin Godzilla was to modernize the concept of 54. This seems to be remaking 54 while doing its own unique elements. And there's definitely some Shin Godzilla inspiration here, but that was already kind of established by Yamazaki in the announcement.
Well, I mean, like, I think that it's kind of reductive trying to compare them too much to 54. And I think that, like, we're never gonna have a Godzilla film as widely accepted as 54 if we're always going to compare it to 54. I think comparisons are important, but like we need to definitely look at this film on its own merits and see how well it does before we do a lot of cross media analysis of it.
Well, when it comes to, I'm not saying be as accepted as 54, because I accept a lot of people are fucking morons in the West. We are full of fucking idiots that do not accept tokusatsu. Like, as much as I like Angry Joe, whenever he says anything Toku related, it's fucking retarded. Like,
yeah, but it's Angry Joe. At that point, you're expecting stupidity.
Well, he has a lot of good takes, but when it comes to tokusatsu, like, he's a Godzilla fan, but then he goes on to stuff about stuff like, oh, I don't care about you don't care about the characters and shit, and it's like,
yeah, again, I don't really go to pissed off Pablo for his takes on really anything.
Yeah, well, like I said, I love Angry Joe. I did take some inspiration from his content, but
hey, we can all take things from peeved Pedro, but it doesn't necessarily mean that like he's got some dub takes.
Fair, but it's like, yeah, his take on Toku stuff, I can't accept. But when it comes to this, what I'm saying is I think this is a remake. That's all I'm saying. While Shin Godzilla was a reimagining, I don't know if they're going to be on the same level. I'm not talking about being on the same level of quality, because frankly, it doesn't need to be. I'm just talking about in terms of the concept. The whole point
I would say that Minus One kind of sort of straddles the line between reimagining and remake, leaning a bit more towards remake. That's just my take on what I've seen so far.
Fair enough, but like I said, a full reimagining would be something like Shin Godzilla, while something that blurs the line between remake and reimagining is the other Shin movies or Kamen Rider Black Sun, because as I explained in my review of Black Sun, is there's a lot of shots in that show that are redone from the original, but then you have stuff that are reimagined, like the massive political thriller Coding. This might be a cross between remake and reimagining, but I'm definitely going towards remake right now.
I think ultimately, like, for me, I think that's probably the least important thing of it. I think what's important is just, again, that's a good movie, whether it's a remake or
definitely.
not.
Don't get me wrong. That's always what's important, but I am interested in the concept of a 54 reimagining, because we haven't got one. We've got of a 54 remake, because we haven't got one.
I don't think we really need one.
We almost got one. We almost got one in the late 70s when they were trying to figure out what to do with Godzilla after Terra Mecha Godzilla. Just something to think about.
Well, I think, like, what's it called? We do, like, 84 is very similar to 54, but I wouldn't call it a remake or even a reimagining.
That's a requel.
84 is a requel.
I think that, like, it stifles the, like, what we need, like, what is important as to what a film needs to be. Like, call it a requel, sequel, remake, reimagining. Like, what we should be focusing on is just character choice.
I viewed Godzilla 84 to be kind of a soft reboot.
I think it's basically 84 is a requel as it remakes aspects of the original while also taking place in the same universe. Then there's
and ignoring the Showa continuity except for 54.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Then there's 98, which is a reimagining where it basically is like, what if Gojira was a simple American blockbuster made in the 90s, where Godzilla is more of a stripped down to his basics as an animal than a godly force of nature. Though the only problem when you reimagine Godzilla like that, when you simplify the original Godzilla into a cheesy blockbuster, let's be honest, you just have to beat some 20,000 fathoms.
Yeah.
Then there's
if I may again, I apologize for cutting you off. I'll let you finish, but I'm starting to hear what Zimzilla's trying to say. I will let you finish, but I just want to say Taylor Swift has one of the worst music videos of all time, but Beyonce has the best. But I'm hearing, in all honesty, I'm hearing what Zimzilla is starting to say. We should really be focusing on if this is a good movie on its own first, and everything else should come secondary.
I mean,
Yeah, so I can meet in the middle between y'all, Joey and Nate. I can see where Nate's coming from. I think we should focus on what makes this film significant, or what's probably going to be the most poignant about it, is the fact that it's like right after the bombings. It's like right at the end of Japan's lowest moment. And I think that's what's really going to stand out, because even in the original film, like I was saying earlier, there was at least 10 years on from when it happened, so there was a bit of a recovery. Here it's like they don't even have time to get their bearings before they're fucked over again. But at the same time, it is remaking certain moments from the original film.
Yeah, because I think like ultimately archetypes and even shot composition and what is going to be visually pleasing is something that can carry on from one film to the other. And I think that when we get to films that are in a similar time space and are also within the same IP, we as fans are very quick to say, oh, it's a remake, or oh, it's a reimagining, or it's this, oh, it's that, without really taking the time to focus first and foremost on like what is the significance of this scene for this film, because I think like we get a lot of video essays from people who aren't fans talk about that stuff, and I think when we as fans make that a whole large part of our discourse, I think it sets not necessarily a bad example, but it sets a precedent that I believe that we can do better in. Because I think, like, for example, the 05 King Kong film is obviously a remake of the 33 film, but every time I see scenes, I'm not trying to immediately think back to, this is clearly a callback to this or that. It's very much trying to be in that world that has been created over again, and seeing why in this new movie, why it's done well here, regardless of what had come before.
Zim, let me tell you something. Like, I agree with what you're saying 100%. Like, here's the thing. If I was to review this movie, and I'm going to, I'm not going to be going on about whether this is calling back to the original or not. Like, you've seen how I reviewed Kamen Rider Black Sun and went by how that was as a show, the quality in it. I only really brought up the aspects that called back to the original mostly when I was trying to deconstruct Main Man Stan, acting like it didn't call back to it at all. But what I'm saying here in this regard is what we don't really know much about the quality right now. Like, we could grab bits and pieces of what's going on, but since we only know what we're shown, I think it's also valid to speculate what the concept might be.
Yeah, well, I think that's why it should be important to speculate again on the quality of the film on its own, instead of jumping first into labeling it as a reimagining or a remake, etc.
Well, I see what you mean, but like I said, I'll mention quality when I notice it, but I'll also mention when it's calling back when I notice it. Of course, if it turns out to be its own thing entirely, that won't bother me at all. Like, my whole thing when judging art is to review everything on its own merits. But I still think it's fun to just kind of think about, what is this movie gonna be, you know?
Yeah.
But let's take a look at the shots D-Man shown. Like, I posted them in my Discord server just so I could kind of get a better look at it. Oh, fuck.
Oh, you want to show a D-Man?
Oh, fuck off. But, like, for example, like, let me get a proper shot. We got this shot right here. People holding on to the building. Individuals holding on.
Yeah, there's the one I mentioned. Yeah, the one I saw.
This here, like, their reactions are even kind of similar, even though this guy's clearly screaming. But Like this guy screaming while this guy here has this shocked look on his face, like, oh shit.
I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
Well, it's like you were saying, Joe. It's not a shot for shot like the Psycho remake. It's recreating it, and there's something different about it so that it stands on its own, even though it's a similar moment.
Exactly. That's what a good remake is. It's not a shot-for-shot version. Like, for example,
Well, again, it's not. I don't think this film's a remake, though. I think that like it's just a film taking place in a similar time with similar shots. That doesn't necessarily make it a remake. I think we only think it's a remake because it's the same IP.
Well, you're right, it doesn't, but what we're doing here is speculation. I think it might be. What do you think, Trev?
Well, to his point, it could just be basic visual homage, and that's it.
Oh, yeah, but like, for example, you got this shot here. And let me read the archetypes. They kind of remind me of the original characters. Well, like I said, I don't know if it's a... Right now, we don't know. Like, basically, we don't. All we have here is speculation, and that's why I'm giving this analysis. Oh, 1 minute. Like, for example, we got Shikishima, which his arc here, a person who survived the war. He lost his parents, devastated in Japan. He meets Noriko. How do we compare this small summary to Ogata? Well, a soldier that finds a girl that he likes and wants to help her get through this bad economic situation. Noriko, kind of like Emiko, a strong woman living in Japan, though Emiko wasn't strong, but she did rely on Ogata a lot when it came to surviving through the economic situation and improving her lifestyle and shit.
Yeah, but like even looking at these right here, like Shikishima, it's mentioned specifically they lost his parents, so that's probably going to be a major part of his character, which wasn't a point for Ogata. And although he is another boy meets girl character in a early post-war Godzilla movie, that's very different, at least how I would describe Ogata in as few words as they are here. And the same thing with Noriko. Emiko wasn't living by herself. She had a family, and she actually was living a pretty good life. So clearly the economic circumstances that she's living with is far different from Emiko. So her like character and her opinions are definitely going to be far different.
We'll
like,
see.
And like I would say, like at that point, what we call like again the archetype for, I wouldn't even call Ogata the soldier archetype, because he doesn't really do much soldiery things in the first film. And with Noriko, I wouldn't even call, like, if we're gonna call the archetype as the female for the archetype, I don't think that would be fair for Emiko or Noriko either.
Well, here's the thing. Like, right now, all we have here is a basic small summary, so really, in the end, all we have is speculation. Like, this could be a remake, this could be a reboot, this could be a reimagining. Either way, I'm cool with it. But there's just so much puzzle pieces together that's lead me to thinking that this is a remake that does some of its own things.
You know what would be fun to speculate about is how much of this started off as a remake and how much of it might have slowly transformed into some of its own stuff. Like, we see these character names here like Noriko and Koichi. We don't know. For all we know, they could have started off as new versions of Ogata and Emiko, but during rewrites and as the film was getting closer to being made, they might have been rewritten to be less like their 54 counterparts, and to the point they're like, oh, these are almost nothing like those old characters. Let's rename them and make them their own thing. That could have been something that happened. That's actually a very fascinating thing to think about. How much in the process was this a remake before it may or may not have slowly became its own thing.
Yeah, but like I think like if we look at these characters here, the descriptions don't really match the characters we're comparing them to, and neither are their names. And there's like I think either 2 or 3 characters in the entire Godzilla series named Goromaki, and all those characters don't really share a lot with each other outside of the fact that they share the same name across these films.
2 of them were reporters.
Well, to offer my own substance in this conversation here, like, Emiko didn't live alone, but that's one change. But the thing is, like, for example, she's still the girl of this boy meets girl kind of story, and my interpretation on them bringing up how she met him, there's going to be a huge reliance on her and Shikishima. And in Shikishima's case, while he didn't have the complexity of his parents getting lost in the war in Japan, we still had the element of him being in the military. It wasn't a huge thing. It was kind of simple, but that's still a similarity. But these are just very small things we got here, small summaries. The movie.
Let me
Yeah,
ask
but
you,
like
let me ask you
again,
something.
if we're talking about archetypes, though, like even 84 we could argue had those archetypes there for
84
the
did. It was a
characters in
requel.
84 are, well, again, it's a requel, but I think that calling it a requel takes away from what makes those characters unique, because I think that like the merit, we are placing merit more on the fact that it knows its betters and that's why it's good, rather than regardless of what came before, this is good or this is bad. And I
Okay,
think
let me
that's the
do
problem
some.
with the label.
Let me do something for you, Zim. Let me ask our fearless leader here, Joey, something. Joey, ignoring all the facts that you might think it may be a remake, reimagining, anything, based on what you've seen and what you've read about the movie and the characters so far, what do you think about them without mentioning the remake or possible reimagining stuff? Talk about it on its own.
Well, in terms of the characters, I can't really say anything about them because, again, there's really not much to work with here. And from what we've seen, I guess I can say, like, I can mostly just say there seems to be potential in acting performances, like Minami Hamabe from Shin Kamen Rider is in this. She was fantastic there. I think she's gonna be fantastic here, and yeah, and there seems to be a lot of drama that's going to be going on between our cast of characters. Like, there's a moment in the trailer with him running with her, and I think we could have a solid romance story that goes on about them escaping Godzilla and shit of that nature. But again, reason why I'm putting such an emphasis on the remake aspect, because in terms, we still don't know that much.
So there's a moment in the trailer that has me intrigued. It's the one scene where two characters, one's a woman, one's a man. I think the man might be Koichi, the character. It seems like she's upset with him and she kind of bats him away and says, "You're a disgrace." That kind of makes me wonder what's going on there.
I was
Yeah.
about to bring up that same scene. It makes me wonder what sort of angle is Yamazaki going to take when he examines what post-war Japan was like through modern lenses. What is he going to be pro-imperialism like some people are speculating? I don't agree with that. Is it going to be pro-war, anti-war? Are they going to bring out Japan's parts in the war, and are they going to have a victim complex? Or how are they going to portray the U.S. in this movie? What all are they going to do? That alone is intriguing enough, even without this wondering if this is going to be a remake or not.
Yeah, actually, sorry, Joe. If you look at the description here, maybe he's a disgrace because he survived the war. You know, if we think about, I can't remember how to pronounce it, but basically the suicide.
Kamikaze?
Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
Wait,
That the soldiers
planes,
sorry, go ahead.
or wait, were you thinking of kamikaze as in like the pilots who would?
Oh no, not kamikaze, seppuku or something like that.
Yes,
Yeah, there we go. Basically, whenever the going was tough and they realized they were going to lose, they were expected to kill themselves in an honorable way.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I'm wondering
like a death
if
before dishonor kind of thing.
yeah, there you go. So I'm wondering if he's a disgrace because he didn't undergo that process.
I think when it comes to the whole thing, there's definitely a lot that could happen between them, and I'm looking forward to doing my analysis on them, because again, when I watch the movie, my analysis of them isn't going to be based around if they are a remake of the character or not. Like, I just think since there's not much we really know about what's going on yet, it's just cool to kind of speculate on the concept. But when reviewing media, it's always important to throw the concept out of the way. That's why I say when people talk about Shin Godzilla, the anime trilogy, or Singular Point, if they want to kind of... I think when people bitch about those for not being what they want, here's what I say. Just because you're a Godzilla fan doesn't mean those entries were made for you. Like, they were made for people who want to see that direction out of Godzilla. If you're not a part of that crowd and just want the more fun, action-oriented stuff, by all means, it's fine. Just, I think when you're reviewing media, you kind of have that obligation to try to be objective. I know opinions are subjective, but the point when reviewing something is you gotta try. When you bring your preference in there, you're not trying. You're just going on. You're not giving any substance. That's why, for example, you'll never see me review The Wizard of Oz, because the thing is, I cannot give a substantial review on that movie. Like, they made a wonderful candy-like land to bring that film to life, and it's very impressive for what they did for the time. But the thing is, it's like a very sweet candy, and I just don't like the flavor of that candy. But I can't say it's not a well-done movie. That's why you're never going to see Gojin reviews The Wizard of Oz. And if Godzilla ever went a direction I didn't care for, which is unlikely because I like a lot of styles and genres with media, I just wouldn't review it.
That's fair.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. When I review the movie, I'm not going to be on about the concept thing. It's just right now that's really most we could do is speculate on the concept.
For sure.
Toku Punk Productions said the bits for Wizard of Oz is a great horror film.
Behind the scenes, BTS. That's what it means.
Okay. Alice said hello. Hey, nice to have you. But yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of potential with the movie. We do have Minami Hamabe. What else was she in besides Shin Kamen Rider? Because either way, she's gonna be in 2 W movies this year. If Minus One is as good as I think it's gonna be. What else?
Apparently, she was in something called What? She is known for her breakout role in the past. Let Me Eat Your Pancreas.
Oh yeah, I know what that movie is. That's actually was she the lead girl in that? That's a drama movie, by the way.
Yeah, she is the lead role. They consider it her breakout role.
Oh my god, no wonder she was so good in Shin Kamen Rider. I Want to Eat Your Pancreas is a very drama-filled... The name sounds goofy, but the film is actually very serious. It's a drama romance movie, and it has a hard-hitting ending. And it's crazy because...
Well, it's funny. The only reason it's funny primarily is just it has a very Western drama romance style title to it, where it just sounds like one of those cheesy romances I see at work all the time, where I'm like, yeah, I could see a 40-year-old Y mom reading that, but no, I bet it's pretty good, honestly.
Yeah, it's a great movie. Oh wait, she played in the live action version of it, which I haven't seen the live action version, but I heard that version is very good too. I still gotta see it. Though the anime film already fucking destroyed my heart, so... well, she destroyed my heart in Shin Kamen Rider too, so...
I could destroy her pelvis.
But yeah, Godzilla Minus One. What else? Either way, this woman is a talented actress, and from what I've seen of that one guy's portrayal in the trailer, he seems to be offering that. He seems to be offering a lot of emotion into the role, as like you said when it came to the screaming Zim. There was a lot of fear in that.
Actually, everyone in this trailer was good. They did a lot of good facial emoting and vocal emoting. I think everyone's going to do a good job in this movie as far as acting goes.
I think so too.
Mm-hmm.
But you guys got anything more to say about Minus One?
No, just overall I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. Now let's move on to...
Hold on. You said everyone. I had something to say.
Okay. Well, you were quiet after Zem, that's why.
Oh, well, I'll try to be louder. I'm sure everyone wants that. No, they don't. I'm sorry. But
We already hear you screaming in the room with Aaron every night. Nobody wants you to be louder.
I'm sorry, what was that? All I heard was the sound of a little bitch squealing.
We're not talking about Rick the Squirrel here.
Got
Or
him!
No Nut Rick.
But in all seriousness, saying this movie literally 2 years after World War II ended in a post-war Japan is a fascinating concept on its own. I'm curious to see what type of characters are they going to be following. I know they have the scientist, they have the soldier, we have a potential love interest who might also represent the basic Japanese citizen and what it was like for the Japanese on ground point at ground zero when all this was happening. Through her, we could see how the Japanese public is reacting to this. Through the scientists, we might see how the partially incomplete Japanese government may be reacting to this, and through the soldier, how the military powers are reacting to this. Actually, that's another thing. How are they going to portray the military in this? Because this was well before the self-defense forces were formed, and Japan was kind of at the mercy of the United States and their occupation. They had to count on them for protection. Yamazaki said in an interview that he wanted to explore post-war Japan at a time where they were at their most helpless. They had no guns or anything to protect themselves, so they were at the mercy of others and may be at the mercy of Godzilla's wrath. So which might also lead into the horror aspect of it, because like you have no one to count on but yourself, but you know you are not capable of stopping what is the might that is Godzilla. So yeah, it's all very fascinating to think about and speculate about, and the teases that we get here from this trailer visually and the atmosphere they put into it, the lighting, the music, it honestly seems like this might be the best Godzilla movie we get in modern times, better than any that's come out since, might be the best Godzilla movie we've gotten since GMK even, because I hold GMK in high regard from an objective standpoint. This might be the Godzilla movie.
Yeah, Cody, on that note that you brought up, it'll be very interesting if the U.S. military has the fight back against Godzilla, because it will be kind of a payback for dropping the nukes. They kind of have to face the consequences as well. It seems like everybody's going to have to be facing some measure of consequences in this movie.
To quote Shin Godzilla, payback time.
Yeah, and real quick, before we move on to the next thing, I'll give my little wrap up on Minus One. So I'm probably the biggest Monsterverse guy here besides Cody. And I'm not usually one who gravitates towards the solo Godzilla movies. I respect most of them. My favorite is probably Return of Godzilla out of the solo films. Yeah. But basically the vibe I'm getting from this movie, there's something very, very special about this. And my takeaway so far is that this is kind of the movie that I wanted 2014 to be. I don't want to pile on the hate for 2014, even though I will admit that movie greatly disappointed me back when I first saw it. It's grown on me. The parts about it that I like, they're really good. It still has its flaws. I still think it's the weakest Monsterverse movie. But still, there's something about Minus One. Again, hopefully they don't kill him off at the end of the movie, because like I was telling y'all in Discord, I want to kind of squint and pretend like this is the actual star of the Monsterverse. It's like a funny little headcanon thing. It's just me messing around. But regardless, yeah, there's something special about this one. I like superhero Godzilla, but there's also something special about him starting off a major grump. He wakes up and he wants to kick everybody's ass. There's something special about the character progression from that harbinger of doom into a guardian type character. So yeah, that's my piece on it. Go ahead, Cody.
Well, first I want to say...
I was going to say I agree completely with what you just said. I personally think 2014 is better than some of y'all might be giving it credit for. I agree it has its flaws, but y'all make it sound like it's the worst thing since, well, a dog turd fell in your bedroom window. And I'm just like, it's not that bad.
It's not that bad. I'm not trying to pile on it. I'm just saying that it's my least favorite.
When Trevor's saying that stuff like this one's special, he's literally just quoting his mom when she went out to school.
Oh boy,
No.
that's sunk. No, I'm just kidding.
And you know what else? You know who else is at their mercy, Cody? You're at your mercy with Aaron's bed.
Hey, Joey, go catch your brain. I'll be there in 5 seconds to help you catch it. But something I gotta say. You said that you hope that they don't kill off Godzilla at the end of this. I hope they don't either, because I don't think they will, because I think Toho, it's been hinted at from what I can understand, it's been hinted at that they kind of want this to be the start of a new film series in Japan, like with an actual continuing narrative and continuing continuity. So that tells me that there's a good chance that Godzilla might not die in this, and I hope he doesn't. And I agree. It's going to be special to see Godzilla be an antagonist again, because I love superhero Godzilla. That's one of the main appeals of the Monsterverse to me. My first exposure was to a hero Godzilla, the Hanna-Barbera series. So that's why I'll always have the Hanna-Barbera Godzilla series. So that's why I'll always have a special place in my heart for superhero Godzilla. But we've had superhero Godzilla here in the States for like a good while now. I'm ready to see Godzilla mad, angry, and ready to fuck shit up.
Well, see, that's another thing. I think we're kind of getting tired of the Monsterverse because there's been a lot more of it than there has been Toho output. Because aside from the animated stuff, we've basically just had Shin Godzilla. So we're hungry for another Japanese Godzilla movie. And to add to my point from before, this is what 2014 should have been, but couldn't be because it wasn't made from a Japanese perspective.
Absolutely. I'm not bored of the Monsterverse yet. I actually still think there's a whole lot more they could do. I'm just intrigued because this is the start of something new, a new continuity, a new Godzilla, and he's going to be antagonistic, like I said before, which is something the Monsterverse sort of straddles the line with at times, especially in Godzilla vs. Kong.
Yeah, even if it doesn't start a new series, it looks like the film on its own it'll be very unique and have its own merit.
Absolutely.
Drake said 2014 was a great start to the Monsterverse, and I pray Godzilla survives -1. 2014 was fine. I honestly, I said it before, I'll say it again. I think it's the weakest Godzilla film since 1998. Like, I think the entire Millennium series is better. I think I think the entire Reiwa series is better. I think all the Monsterverse sequels are better. And there's a lot of flaws to the Monsterverse sequels, but overall, I still think they're better than 2014. It's not because they got more monster action, but it's because when it came to what's the word I'm looking for? When it came to 2014, you had some really badly developed characters after they bait and switched from the father, because here's the thing, after they bait and switched, like Joe Brody, all he has is his archetype. He doesn't really have anything else about him. Elizabeth Olsen, she's hot. A great actress too, but when it
honestly, mid.
Eat a dick.
Nah, I ain't gay. I have taste. Thank you.
But when it comes to her character, she's just the housewife. That's all she is. She's the housewife. She's the needy housewife.
No, you're actually right. You're actually right, Joey. They marketed that movie as Walter White versus Godzilla, and then we saw it. They did the bait and switch, and really the problem with it is that the movie is so earnest, so serious, but there's not a whole lot of depth to those characters, so it ends up being a bit dull in some places.
Exactly, and what's worse is, like, here's the thing, like, I'm fine with suspense. Hell, they could have waited to show off Godzilla till the very end if they wanted to keep up with
ouch.
Well, like, here's the thing, they could have, but here's my issue. When you show what Godzilla looks like, and you just start cutting away, like I said, you're no longer using suspense. You're just cock blocking. Because everyone knows what Godzilla looks like at that point.
Oh, you know all about the cock, don't you, there, Joey?
Oh, fuck
Well,
off.
so I think what Edwards was trying to do, he was trying to be like a counter to other modern blockbusters, which usually kind of overdo it. They kind of just beat you over the head with what you came to see, and he was trying to have restraint there so that people would want more. But I do agree with you that I think that he did it a bit too much.
Yeah. But like I said, if they wanted to keep that slow and serious nature, by all means, like that's what the entire Railway series is. But the difference is the Railway series has characters.
Well, and to your point, Joey. Well, let's cut the stuff from over here some slack, because we started with '98. I like that movie, but it's not what I would have done. To start off an American franchise, but you kind of had to do that in order to realize what you were doing wrong. And so then we got a little bit better with 2014, and then we kind of settled into basically what the American movies can be, which are recreations, or not recreations, but they're going back to that 70s Showa style.
Yeah, exactly.
But Americanized, yeah. So they've basically kind of settled to where I think they can, basically as far as they can go in terms of adapting Godzilla. So again, that's why we need something like Minus One to remind us of the roots.
Oh, I agree completely. And the thing about the Monsterverse, like I said, I love the Monsterverse. Like, I remember, like, it was not that long ago. I was fucking sick as hell. I was like, you know what?
What do you mean war?
I brought out my Shin Godzilla Blu-ray, and I was like, I don't feel like watching this shit right now. So I popped in GVK instead because I didn't feel like watching something complex. I just wanted to have fun. And
yeah, it's all about flavor.
Yeah.
What flavor of Godzilla do you want today?
Yeah, like, even though there's a lot of flaws I could point out with GVK and King of the Monsters, I love the flavor of those movies. And overall, they do a great job with those flavors.
Hey, you know what? Seeing as how we've kind of done it anyway, how about we bring up Legacy of Monsters and bring up our thoughts about it? We've transitioned to the Monsterverse.
Great transition, yeah.
Yeah,
well, the only one transitioning is Cody Bratt. She's wearing his sister's dress.
Joey, we already know that your sausage has become a hot pocket at this point. Don't even laugh.
Oh,
we already know it's true.
Off. Let me get an image of it. Legacy of Monsters.
We don't want to see an image of your dick, Joey.
Hey, I know it's a monster, but come on, don't give me that much credit, bro.
Yeah,
it's a monster because of how fucking ugly it is.
It's so small. It's like small soldiers. Those were monsters.
Fuck you.
Is your dick a Gorgonite?
Hey, I like that line.
At least those are aesthetically pleasing. Okay.
Hey, your mom says mine's is aesthetically pleasing.
I mean, hey, when you're getting pegged, Joey, that's not any of my business, okay?
But here is first I want to say, well, I might as well just zoom in on the image and we'll go into others. Like, in terms of this image, fuck, this is a small fucking image. Well, in terms of, let me get it.
Well, I guess while you're doing that, I'll explain.
Was that the orgasm, Joey?
Shut up. But something I want to say here is, this looks awesome first. This is really good TV CGI. Like, you can tell, like, it's made with a TV show budget and deadline. Like, it's not the same as the movies, but it's like, that's one of the, it's like, it's a TV show. I wasn't expecting it to.
Well, actually, Joe, do yourself a favor. Look up some of the Apple TV sci-fi shows and look at the quality of their CGI. It's pretty cinematic, and the reason for that is because basically Apple funnels all the money they make off of their products into their their shows and whatnot. So they got a lot of money to spend.
How long are their deadlines? Like, do they have the usual couple week deadlines of a TV show to make an episode, or do they have longer since they're a streaming service?
Yeah, I have no idea. I don't think they suffer the same bullshit that Disney puts on its people, or like the films. I think they take their time. Granted, we haven't seen a trailer, so we can't tell for sure. I've just seen clips of some of the other sci-fi shows that they do, and it looks pretty legit. It's not like cheap shit.
Well, like I said, this still looks great. Don't get me wrong, but I'd say it's more so for a TV show effect. Like, if I was a guess here, it's probably the budget of The Mandalorian, which is like 15 million per episode. And it's like, yeah, I could definitely see that. I still don't expect it to look movie quality, since movies have a long time to finish up. When it comes to TV shows, though, they kind of have to have a small deadline, since, well, there's a lot of episodes they're making, and if they took a couple years to make each episode, it would take forever to make it.
Like, I think overall, my issue, or not issue, but my concern was that with it being on Apple TV, you're already on a smaller streaming platform than Netflix. Since everyone uses Netflix, it's going to be far more accessible. People are going to have to either use their free week of Apple to watch this series, or they're going to have to purchase it. And I know positive was that I know Apple TV shows tend to actually have higher budgets for their shows than Netflix does. So that was a give or take. And I think, honestly, I would rather, again, the general audience is, I don't have much love for the plebeian class. So I'd much prefer a less accessible show with a better budget, so therefore we have better visuals, than a more accessible show with a worse budget, and the plebeians are always going to complain more about the effects anyway. So
well,
I think that was a better choice.
Well, like I said, that's not a knock against it. It's only natural TV shows, well, don't look like a movie because...
Well, no. I'm not saying it's a knock against it, but I'm saying that it's a knock against it to the plebeians. Like, you're going to get those mid-wit opinions like, oh, the effects aren't like how they were in 2014. And, like, everyone else is going to be like, well, yeah. But then the mid-wit is going to be like, still worse effects, though.
Yeah, those are fucking idiots who don't understand the craft of art.
Well, but then again, there's a lot of lemmings in the world, so...
Hey, to your point, Zim, that's actually kind of a double-edged sword. I agree with you that I would want it to be a much more niche kind of market, because those people will appreciate it more. Mm-hmm. But it may have a problem similar to Ash versus Evil Dead, where that was on a service like Stars, and nobody went to go subscribe to it and actually watch it on the service. They just pirated it.
I would say a better question in your case would be, what other shows were on Stars that were worth watching, or had there been a buzz for any show outside of Stars? Like, I'm saying because I actually don't know.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Unfortunately, the only thing that really caught my eye on Stars was that. So yeah, that's actually a good point. But it's kind of the same thing with Apple. I mean, there's some kind of intriguing looking sci-fi shows on there, but it's not really enough for me to lay down money and
What
pay.
I will say though is that this is a very long shot for me, but because I know Prehistoric Planet was on Apple TV, you've got a built-in dinosaur fan base at least, and if you've got like adults who were like, oh, I can spend some money on Apple TV so my kid can watch Prehistoric Planet because he's been asking about it. If they market this well enough, the kid's probably going to be like Godzilla, and they'll be like, oh, am I still subscribed to Apple TV? Okay, I am. All right, cool. We'll tune in. We'll watch some Godzilla. Or probably being like, oh, okay, I watched the 2014 movie with him. Why not? We can watch the show. We have it already. It's kind of like one of those things where it's less a merit of the show itself and more a merit of when it came out. And like with Godzilla, I'm always I'll take what I can get in terms of making people watch something. So that's my feeling on just that specifically.
And another thing, this is technically a show, but like a lot of streaming shows nowadays, really they take a plot that is basically a movie's plot and they stretch it out to like 8 or 10 episodes. I believe this one is 10 episodes. And from what I've heard, it actually plays more like a movie where it has like a beginning, middle, and end. So I think Apple does the week by week thing. So that's going to be interesting to kind of watch the start of a movie, then like a little bit of the middle, and you have to wait before you see the end. So by all accounts, it's supposed to play like a movie. Yeah.
That's like one thing that also concerns me is that like, The Mandalorian season 3 was very much kind of like that, essentially.
Yeah.
But and also like the Mandalorian, we also saw different people directing different episodes. And I know that one of the guys who wrote WandaVision is tapped to write the show. And
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna keep it $150 with you, Chief. WandaVision was fat, sweaty booty cheeks. It was cheeks.
Well, I kind of thought it was okay. It was actually only one of those shows that I watched before I tapped out. But yeah, we'll see how it goes with this.
Speaking of Marvel, Wyatt Russell, U.S. agent, John Walker from Captain Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Captain America and the Winter Soldier. He's going to be in the show, and honestly, like if he puts in the same performance he did in the MCU, for this show, then I think we may have like a pretty good performance on our hands, and I think Kurt Russell's going to be in it too. So like,
yeah, he's playing the older version of that character.
Yes, like it kind of sucks because I'm like, yo, I want to see more Wyatt Russell as like in a certain period, because like I think he would be really cool, because like he's not in a whole lot, but he's been in enough. And the issue too is that like the Monsterverse has suffered a lot from actor turnover. Like,
yeah,
we lost Joe in the first movie. I'm unsure if what's called Bryan Cranston would have wanted to like be a part of like a franchise of movies. And like, as much as I take Godzilla seriously, I think that maybe he might not have taken it as seriously as like a thriller / like deep psychological film like Breaking Bad. But if he really took it as seriously as he wanted, as like those Breaking Bad, then I think maybe we could have had a really interesting lead character who really isn't your typical action star. And then the issue is that we got Aaron Taylor Johnson to play Ford Brody, who kind of is that typical action star, and we only had him for one movie. Then we had what's it called, Mark Russell, and he's the main character of one movie, and then he's sidelined the next movie. Like, we don't really have a lot of really well-defined through-line characters throughout the Monsterverse, and it kind of sucks to me, because I'm like, Wyatt Russell would be a actor I would love to see serving as a through-line character. But if Kurt Russell is going to be playing his older counterpart, then maybe we could get Kurt Russell. But then the Monsterverse films don't do as well as we would want them to. So can they afford Kurt Russell as a recurring character? It's a lot of checks and balances, and a lot of it is going to come down to especially the writing, because I think the effects are pretty good, but it's definitely the writing. And if the writing doesn't pull in people, or at least is good, then people who like can appreciate it are going to really stay, and the plebeians are going to have their bread and circus and then leave. And like, that's like one of the issues I've had continue with the Monsterverse. Like, I still like it, but maybe this will be the breakout hit for the Monsterverse and a breakout hit for some of these actors, and we might see more of stuff throughout the timelines. Like, I think the Monsterverse is uniquely suited to telling stories not necessarily in chronological order, and it can skip around through the timelines because they're perfect one-offs for stuff like that. But
I know one thing. Sorry, not to cut you off. I know one thing. I know one thing. Brian definitely wanted to not be killed off in 2014. I know that much. And I think the long form, the fact that this is a series, even if it plays like a long movie, the fact that it has, I guess, maybe like an hour to each episode, that will allow them the chance to actually flesh these things out. Hopefully, at least in theory.
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay, and
from what I understand, I've heard mummeries around the internet that at least one of the characters that's introduced in this show is being spotted to return in future entries. Like the character specifically, what's her name? Kate might actually show up in
like the
GVK.
like the character who's in the bus scene right here. Her,
yes, her. She might end up just showing up in New Empire.
Yeah. Well, so they're teasing. I don't know any details about it, but they're teasing that there's something in this show that will pay off in New Empire. And it's also interesting that the main character, her last name is Randa, which connects to John Goodman from Skull Island.
Yeah, there was a casting sheet that was revealed by accident a months back that showed that someone is going to need to be playing a young Bill Randa, which might be in the same scenes as Wyatt Russell playing the young Lee Shaw, who Lee Shaw, for the record, is a character from the Godzilla Awakening comic that's being brought to this series, readapted into this. So that's a cute little detail I thought I mentioned. So the fact that they're trying to strengthen continuity a bit with this show here, that at least that's what it seems like they're trying to do to me, is fascinating in itself, which might also lead into why they might have Kate, who I suspect is Bill's granddaughter, like you said, Trev, showing up in New Empire.
Yeah, aside from Kong himself, and I guess Gia and the Iwi connection, Skull Island is kind of the most standalone movie in the MonsterVerse so far, so they have to kind of look around back to it.
Okay, and Lelouch said, Lelouch, aka Mekon, put in with a cute little emoji. If you're still here, hello, kitten.
No one cares about your AI girlfriend right now, Joey. We're talking giant lizards and shit.
But here's something I wanted to talk about and what I mean about the effects. First, I couldn't put my finger on. Again, this is not a knock against the effects. You should not expect television effects to look like movie effects. Like I said, when it comes to looking at this, like what separates this from 2014 is you can tell from this picture, the snout, the teeth look a bit more smooth than the 2014 Godzilla, which let me take you to the 2014 Godzilla here. Like even when you look at his skin, everything about it is much more smooth. Now, let me go to 2014. Like, I got a picture of 2014 up.
I will say, at least I appreciate they kept continuity and it is the 2014 design and it's not the King of the Monsters design.
Yeah, but look at them in comparison. Like, you could tell that this is the movie here made with a Hollywood budget and deadline because here, there's so much rough detail on the snout. You can see the eyes are more closely proportioned, the mouth is more in line, and inside that mouth you could see other details like what's the words I'm looking for? I'm not a science nut.
You're not
like the vagina-like thing in all of our throats.
I think definitely also
again, that's
what's
not
it called? Since we do know Shaw is going to be in the movie, I do remember at least hearing a rumor that Shinomura might be in this what's it called, into the series. So we either are going to get a back and forth timeline story about the events of Awakening and then what's going on with post 2014 into Aftermath. If that is the case, that would be cool. But it also could mean we could see Ken Watanabe return as Serizawa, but not sure. Yeah, Matt Demian says, I'm really hoping in this series that we get to see some of the monsters that were only referencing King of Monsters like Bunyip, Akili Mbembe, Leviathan, etc. Like, I would say, well, the thing, the other thing too is that like,
hi Matt.
We do know that in Aftermath or Aftershock, we never heard about any of the monsters awakening. So I think we're dealing in like a post 2014 pre-Aftershock, pre-Cottom era, at least in this series. But it would be interesting. I'd like to see it. And it's also hello, Matthew.
Hey, Matt. Hey, Matt. How have you been?
But yeah, like again, I'm excited. There's a lot of things I have issues with when it comes to the MonsterVerse, but like I still am very happy we're getting a live action Godzilla TV show.
Yeah, and something I want to say about here is I want to continue on my point. Like again, I want to hammer this in. I'm not saying the effects are bad in the show. Like when you look at TV show standards.
Oh, you want to hammer it in, all right?
Like the effects here look incredible for TV show standards. There's an impressive amount of detail. The lighting reflects on him well. Overall, it just looks very incredible. But yeah, point is, you could definitely tell it's using TV show digital effects. It looks like it came out of Game of Thrones, and you know what? That's a compliment because Game of Thrones has amazing CGI. But when it comes to a TV show, but anyone else see what I mean is you could tell that there's a difference in movie and TV show quality.
I think the fact that it's a different effects team, and from what I understand, the original CG model for Godzilla for 2014 is gone. Like that was used
actually,
to.
Yeah, it was used and
Actually,
upgraded into the 2014 one. Yeah.
Well, my
actually, there's actually a bunch of the same effects guys as 2014 and other MonsterVerse movies that are going to be working on this.
like I
No
said,
shit.
Yeah.
well, like I said, I think what we're getting here isn't just
Cool.
this team, nor is it a thing of incompetence. It's just what we're seeing here is something made from a TV show's budget and deadline. And you know
We
what?
also have to
I'm not-
remember this is
I wasn't-
still.
And you know what? For what we got, this looks amazing.
I wasn't saying you were wrong, Joey. I was trying to bring in other factors that could also be playing into it.
Okay, gotcha. Matthew Dinian said, doing great, thanks. I would think if we get those monsters, they would be in suspended animation, so just still shots of them. Understandable. I've been wanting a Godzilla live action series for years. I'm still hoping we'll get a tokusatsu one from Japan. Like those short films of Godzilla really just made me think of Ultraman, and it turned out because apparently they were shot by those who shot a lot of the modern Ultra series, so that would explain a lot. But it's like,
Yeah, no wonder.
but it's like, yeah, I would want a live action Godzilla series from Japan too. But you know what? This is close enough.
How cool would it be if we ended up in a world where they have a live action Godzilla show in Japan in addition to this one that's coming out? That'd be freaking wild.
Yeah,
That's an
exactly.
embarrassment of riches.
And what we have,
I mean, hey, we've got two movies coming on, a show. We've got tons of comics that have been coming out. We've
It's a
even
good
got
time to
like
be a
a kind of like an actual game that's going to be coming to Steam for Godzilla. Like
Yeah.
it's an amazing time to be a Godzilla fan.
Yeah.
It
We
is,
get
it
the best of both worlds. Sorry.
and then we got this.
That's why you like men and women.
Fuck you. Oh yeah, you can laugh. It makes you sound smarter. Blech.
No, it just makes me sound funny.
But you guys have anything more to
They
say
can-
about?
they
You
can
guys anything
hear
have to say
the pretty in
about
my
this
voice.
in particular?
Are you
I've
kidding?
been-
Are you kidding? I have a lot to say.
Yeah, well, I'll just say this real quick. I've been joking that this is basically the Godzilla 2 that some people wanted, because there's a few fans that think that King of the Monsters was too much of an escalation, and I can kind of see that. So this is kind of technically the proper Godzilla 2 that will flesh out the world more in the wake of that incident. And that's probably the most intriguing thing about it, if you ask me.
I can
Yeah.
agree with that. Something I gotta note is that I used to sort of bitch about, well, why aren't they putting this in the 5-year gap between King of the Monsters and Godzilla vs. Kong? Mostly because the idiot that I am just wanted a show where Godzilla fights a bunch of monsters, putting them in their place, like what GVK teased in its beginning credits. But now that I've seen the pieces starting to come together, I get why they set the series where they did, like right after 2014 going forward. I don't think they could have said it anywhere else, because with the characters that they are presenting now and how they're trying to present them in the show, they're trying to tighten continuity, because let's face it, it's been pretty loose so far, comparatively speaking. But even then, I still wonder if they realize that they're making slight continuity flubs even by trying to tighten the continuity, because the Lee Shaw character, as cute as it is, them trying to bring him in from the Awakening comic and put him in the show, I have to wonder, how old is he going to be when he's played by Kurt Russell? Because you have to think, he's an adult in the 50s, which is those flashback scenes that they're going to have during the time that Awakening is basically set. And he's in his 30s, probably in his 30s at that point. I did the math, and Lee Shaw in 2014, he would have to be, depending on what age he is in the flashbacks,
Let's
he'd
just
have
say
to be between 90 and 103.
let's say for argument's sake that he's 30. Let's just say for argument's sake that he's 30. Well, actually, one sec. We'll be even slightly more scientific in this aspect. One sec.
Well, first I want to say, Cody.
No. Before
telling
you
your-
say it, I'm just curious as to what he'll say. So Wyatt Russell at this point at least is 37. So let's say hypothetically he's playing a character that's the same age as he is in real life. So how old would he be in 2014 then?
103.
103. Let's say so then he'd be in his 90s then if he was only 30.
Right.
First I want to say, Cody, saying your age, talking about the Monsterverse loose continuity is a weird way to refer to your mom's vagina.
I'm not listening to you.
Joey.
What?
Boy.
Want to help me ride a train on her?
Bro. Like, maybe after I'm done, you can be the short little caboose afterwards. But also then again, I don't share, so there's that.
Meanwhile, Trevor's just watching with popcorn. He's getting the best seat in the house. He's inviting Cody over with soda.
Ugh. 1 second. Wait. Do you guys think the series would be similar to the 2000 show Surface, in that show Kaiju showing up and one team trying to hide their existence, trying to reveal their existence? I don't think so, because this is post 2014, so everyone kind of knows monsters are real. And although I think we are getting Awakening era material, maybe we might see that in certain points. But because we know Shaw was so involved in Monarch, I honestly doubt we will see that, because they knew monsters were real. It was more a fact of like doing what you can in these isolated areas, because a lot of the Shinomura fight with Godzilla was across Pacific anyway, and there was so like few people who'd be getting off those islands that tell people that, hey, I saw a giant monster, that they didn't have to worry too much about it.
I think that there's a chance they could be covering up to an extent, not necessarily trying to trick people into thinking that monsters don't exist, but trying to keep from them exactly how many there are, because we kind of saw bits of that in King of the Monsters, but mostly in them saying, "Oh, we don't know where Godzilla is." Spoiler alert: we totally know where Godzilla is. So we might be seeing some of that start to take shape here in this series too. It's possible.
So yeah, from what I've heard, because if we remember, in King of the Monsters, they say that the public hasn't seen him for 5 years, but he's supposed to be in this show a fair amount. So it obviously means that the only people who are going to be seeing him in this show are Monarch personnel, and I'm assuming maybe there's some hollow earth tunnels, some remote locations like islands or something. I don't know. I've just heard that he's going to be in the show, but they're going to have to figure out a way to make sure that the general public doesn't see him. Yeah.
Well, here's the break that, and that'll be another retcon between 2014 and Cottom, because like a lot of the continuity issues have always been between Cottom and 2014. But like we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. The 2014 is set within May of 2014, so they're probably going to use the excuse of, "Oh, we said he hasn't been seen since 2014. We didn't say when in 2014." So they'll probably be like, so they're probably going to use that as a security blanket and be like,
So the whole show will just take place in 2014.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but to basically, in case it's not readable on the screen, I'll read this for context.
Do you want me to read it, or
oh, go ahead and read it. If you want
so all monsters attack. So funny. Said after the events of 2014's epic Godzilla film, where the radiated reptile trudged through San Francisco, this addictive series sees the big stream of humans known as Titans creating chaos again. As for the humans, it's emotional and surprisingly intimate tale. San Francisco survivor Kate is traveling to Japan to locate her MIA father. There she uncovers a jaw-dropping betrayal, and with help from her half-brother and a American hacker. Wait, real quick, was Ren Watanabe the...
He was the son in Godzilla vs. Kong, and he was painfully underused.
Yeah, okay. Wait, no. Was Ren Watanabe... Was Ren... What?
No, so the character was Ren, but the actor was Shun. I can't pronounce it.
Oh, wait, my brain's fried. My brain's fried. Ren Sarazawa, I got it mixed up with.
Yeah,
because I wasn't, because I know like the actor wasn't called Ren.
That's
a really different character. And an
Yeah.
American hacker, her family linked to the covert Monarch group that's been investigating Titans for decades. But who are the real monsters here? That kind of concerns me, honestly. Sometimes it's figurative and sometimes it's literal, says executive producer. Through 1950s flashbacks is revealed how a team of Monarch agents, including Army Officer Lee Shaw, were tracking Titans in hopes of discovering their origins. So that's probably going to be what we see of like the live action adaptation of Awakening. Who directed the first 2 episodes notes that Kate's contemporary discoveries will create the opportunity of having characters crossover, such as the present day Shaw, played by Russell's father, like Monarch's father. Most of the series details are top secret, and as far as Titans are on tap, it should be a surprise. So and so who admits that both new Titans and fan faves are in the mix. Sounds like an opportunity fit for a king. I'm not going to say the joke because that was a corny joke. But so technically, I will say this: we have not seen any. Well, there were no new Titans between 2014 and Aftershock outside of Muto Prime, but technically Shinomura was never seen in live action, so that could be the quote-unquote new Titan. And there was also the small Muto Museum that was in Awakening, so that could also mean we see new monsters there. So unless they really, really want to break continuity and we have a whole new monster fight that we never got to see between 2014 and Aftershock, then like I'm guessing probably the new monster is going to be Shinomura because we never seen a live action Shinomura, which I'll be curious to see. I need to definitely do a video essay on like the problems with the early Monsterverse villains, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, they're kind of like a microbe or a Hedra and Destroya kind of creature, right? Where they're like a colony of organisms.
Well, they're a colony of organisms, but the issue is that both Shinomura and the Mutos were both creatures that were parasites on Titans. And the Titan idea wasn't created yet because it was kind of the idea that Godzilla was the only one. But then they're both ancient parasites, which makes them very similar in terms of their ecological function. And the idea was making Godzilla more realistic. But then they do that, and like it kind of just makes me wish they used Rakumitala instead of the Mutos or Shinomura. But I will say Shinomura at least looked more interesting than the Mutos. So, and if Shinomura is the monster we see, I will be happy, honestly.
Yeah. So here's something cool. Both of the Godzilla things for this year are taking it back to Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Something else that's cool. We have an idea of when the show will actually be released. They probably should have given this information when they first revealed those pictures like a month back, but hey, it's okay. From what I understand, they were trying to gauge on when the actors/writers strike might end so that they could have those people available to promote this show. But then all the investors are like, hey, we want a return on our investment. So that's probably why they're putting the show out now. But according to this, it says right here, it's going to premiere sometime in November. Kind of hoping it's November 3rd, because that'd be awesome.
I bet we're probably going to see something around November 3rd. I bet Toho will be like, hey, we know you're going to do something around this time. Can you, like, do something to coincide? Everything be a bit consistent.
Well, and you know, spoilers are going to be out there for Minus One. So they may want to have something for the American audience to, you know,
distract them.
Yeah, distract them. Haha, like that's going to happen. But anyway.
Yeah, I'd say that's a fair point.
You still alive over there, Joe?
Yeah, I am. Just I was letting you guys talk since I haven't had anything.
Okay. Yeah, there for a while we were, me and Zim were kind of dominating the conversation. Sorry about that.
Oh, no,
I mean, hey,
no, it's cool.
Happens. Yeah.
But let's go on to, unless there's anything more to say about this screenshot.
No.
She's hot.
Yeah, she
Agreed.
mid.
She's all right.
You're
Mid.
mid. Your face is fucking mid. Shut
Hey,
up.
I'm mid, but I still pull, okay?
Woo!
Oh, you like to pull all right.
Oh,
No,
God.
no, I pull out. That's why I don't have any kids.
Oh.
Too bad
look
your
at this guy
father
being
didn't
smart.
pull out, because I certainly would have.
Hey, I mean, what can I say? You always miss out on great opportunities, so what can I say? I'm not amazing.
But let's. The only other photo we have here is let me get it.
I'm actually curious if that scene where she's outside on the bus is the same bus from 2014, because if so, that's gonna be super weird because you don't see her in the bus scene from 2014.
I don't
No,
think
I bet
I don't
you
think
it's
it will
another-
be.
Yeah, it's probably another bus.
Because I think there were
was a whole
several
lot-
buses on the bridge, but like I hope they don't try to be like, "Yo, she was in front of the Brody kids bus," and I'm like,
Yeah, that would
"No."
Well,
No,
like,
from
of course-
what it looks like in that picture, she might have been in one of the buses behind the Brody kids because
Yeah,
this
that's
is clearly after Godzilla goes through the bridge, and you already know if that's the case, she didn't make it to the other side before he broke through.
Well, she probably was able to then run back to the other side because the bridge didn't totally collapse. So that's at
Matthew
least what-
Dinian said, "Hey guys, great discussion. I gotta go. Thanks for answering my questions. Enjoy all the Godzilla content coming our way.
I
Enjoy-
shall.
Have a good one, man. It was
Yep,
nice
I love
talking to you.
Godzilla, and nice talking to you again, Matt.
Yes, sir.
And of course, what we have here is what are we supposed to say here other than it's nice to see this great actor in a Godzilla property?
Look at this handsome man.
It is really surreal to think that like we've gotten Samuel L. Jackson in a King Kong movie. Kim Watanabe was in a Godzilla movie. Kurt Russell is now in a Godzilla series. We have Wyatt Russell in a Godzilla series. We got Kick-Ass in a Godzilla movie. Even though I don't really like her as an actress and I don't watch the show, we got 11 in a Godzilla series. We got Tywin Lannister in a Godzilla movie. Ice Cube's son was in a Godzilla movie. But like, yeah, it's really cool to see the Kurt Russell in a Godzilla movie and in both Godzilla series.
Yep.
Kurt Russell's one of my favorite actors. I've been wanting. It's always a treat when I get to see someone that I'm actively a fan of in a property, taking part in an intellectual property that I'm a fan of. And y'all know Godzilla's my favorite thing. So yeah, this is a big treat. However,
It's one of those weird things though when you think about it. Like some of these people are Godzilla fans, and you're like, "Oh wow, you're actually a Godzilla fan." Like Ice Cube's son being a really big Godzilla fan, that's like the last thing I would expect.
Well, Ice Cube's
Right?
also a big Godzilla fan. He said he raised him on Godzilla movies.
Yeah, that's like it's weird. Like you don't when you think Ice Cube, you don't think Godzilla though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a long shot. It's a long shot, but I hope his show gets picked up. The anime that he's pitching, because it looks.
I would
pretty cool.
love to see Toho, since they've been expanding more into the American market, giving like money to some like American folks to do that.
Mhm.
The possibilities.
It'd be a new age.
That would definitely bring in a new age.
But anyways, you guys have anything more to say in the podcast?
No, not really, honestly.
Yeah, me neither.
honestly, I think there's a lot that I did want to say, but I've gotten so scatterbrained that it's just like it's gone. It's out of reach. I can't get it back. So I might as well be
Yeah,
done.
the dick slap didn't rattle your brain that much, man. Come on.
All I can say is,
I work with children.
All I'm saying is, I'm with Cody. The Asian chick's hot.
Nah, she mid.
I
She
need to
mid.
get
You just a simp.
No, you're just gay. Like,
No,
you
no,
want
here's the thing.
to smash
No, here's
it's telling that
here's
you
the
want to
difference,
smash
ready?
Kurt
I'll
Russell.
tell you this much, ready? Nah, you just mid, like any mid-tier Asian puh, you're gonna be like, eh. That's you.
You're
At
the
least
Hey,
I have
Joey.
standards.
You're the one who wants to smash Kurt Russell.
Nah, don't give me that. Besides,
Like,
the
we went
person
from
I think who's
her.
like,
We went from her. You had the flat dick like the Saber in Spaceballs, and then when he's on screen, it's raised up.
nah, dude, literally, like for you, it's like the Family Guy skit where it goes from womp womp to like any other race, and then immediately, no matter like what, as long as it's Asian, you go, you're a straight shooter right there. That's you. So don't give me that, boy.
Hey, Joey,
He's not
it's
wrong.
okay. It's okay that we're the ones that actually have taste on this podcast.
That's true. That's true. Meanwhile, when Kurt Russell gets on board, Zim and Trevor start stroking on each other.
Hey, listen.
Hey,
he's-
I'll tell you this: when I see a 10,
What Trevor
I'll let
do?
you know what a 10 looks like. So at least maybe then your standards can improve.
You already said what you consider a 10 is. The image is right here.
Nah. No.
Sign.
You keep deflecting from the fact that you like mid-tier puh. Like that's a disgrace.
You're
That's
not
a
Okay.
disgrace to the highest record.
You want Kurt Russell?
Okay,
Yeah,
in all
hey, I
honesty,
get all his money. What can I say? I can assassinate him and get his money. There you go. Bada bing, bada boom. Win-win. I don't have to do anything.
like everyone's been saying, it's an exciting time to be a Godzilla fan, a Kaiju fan in general, a Tokusatsu fan, all that good shit. We have all this stuff coming out. We fans are eating well. Whether something's your personal flavor or not, it varies. But even so, you gotta admit, it's a great time to be a Godzilla / Kaiju / Tokusatsu fan with all this shit coming out.
Oh, I agree 100%. We're getting so much good stuff. Like, with the fact that we got an American Godzilla movie, Godzilla TV series, and a Japanese Godzilla movie that are released only months apart, that's insane.
It's crazy for sure.
But anyway,
wait,
that was it for
Trevor.
this
Wait, Trevor. Do
Oh,
you
yeah.
have anything to add? You have any closing thoughts?
Oh, well, nothing except for the fact that, to what Joey said earlier, I mean, just because something's not our favorite flavor doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. It's just that we like other ones better.
Exactly.
So, we have so much to choose from now. So, it's nice to have options.
Exactly. I wish every fan would have that mindset, because it seems like if fans are entitled. I'll say that right now. And I don't want to sound like those idiotic corporations that can't take accountability or the SJWs, but fans want every entry of a franchise to appeal to them. If it goes a specific direction, like oh, this is too political, and I'm talking about Shin Godzilla in this regard, or oh, this is too character driven, or this is too serious, it's like it wasn't made for you. That's not your cup of tea, but it is other people's. Especially
It's like Zim said, they're plebeians or plebeians.
Yeah, plebes.
Yeah.
The moral of the story is fuck tribalism.
Exactly.
Sure, yeah.
Well, no, more tribalism, just be more informed, and then stop with the plebeians.
It's always good to be informed.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's why I say when you do a review, always judge it based on what it is, because here's the thing. If you're judging something off concept, any viewer could find if something isn't their cup of tea generally by looking up the concept. They don't need you to point those out to them in a review. A review, I think, should be an analysis on your reading of what something is or isn't, or how it does it right or wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But that said, that was it for this episode. Please comment your thoughts down below. If you enjoyed it, smash that like button harder than Cody was smash them. This is Gojin the Makai Phantom, leaving the building.
Stay awesome, people.
Blah, 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 blah.